What's up, you guys? I am back with another nail art tutorial. If you are new here, thank you for joining in, and to all my subscribers, welcome back. Before we get started, as always, be sure to subscribe and hit that bell notification. That way, anytime I post a new video, you guys will get the notification. Before I get into the design and why I wanted to do something like this, I do want to mention that I am using Valentino's Cover Acrylic in the shade Raspberry Cream Cheese. I've honestly never used this shade before, and I don't think this is a popular shade either way. Like, I think the popular shade is usually Bad and Bougie. That's everybody's go-to, and I do like Bad and Bougie, but I think this might be my new go-to shade when it comes to cover acrylic. But anyways, right here I'm just doing my acrylic application using nail forms and my size 16 Pana acrylic brush. But if you pay attention really close, you'll actually notice that I do struggle to bring the acrylic down the form a little bit, and that's because my room was really warm that day. Normally, like, I'm from Chicago, so it's been kind of cold and my acrylic has been a lot more runny, but we've just been going through this crazy weather where one day it's hot and the next day it snows. And this day just so happened to be hot, and it was 80 degrees in my room, and I really had to push that acrylic down and sort of get used to the flow of it. I do want to offer some advice if you're struggling with your acrylic application, and it might be a little bit contradicting to what other nail techs have advised. Basically, what everybody tells you to do is to grab one of those sheets with the circles on it and to pick up your bead and place it down and make sure that your bead stays in that circle. Like, it shouldn't drown out of the circle. But that never worked for me, because what I found myself doing was picking up an incredibly dry bead that had just enough monomer to stay in the circle, but there was no movement to the bead at all. And when I went to actually apply the acrylic to the nail plate, it was too dry and it wouldn't move, and I couldn't find the balance between a bead that was too dry or too wet and just right. So instead, what worked for me was buying those XXL nail tips from Amazon and picking up a bead, placing the bead where the cuticle would be at the top of the nail tip, and watching it flow down. This worked better for me because not only was I able to see how the bead moved, I was able to actually study it as it's going down the nail tip. So I knew that if I dipped my brush in the monomer and lightly tapped it and picked up a bead, I can see how big the bead is and how it was gonna flow all the way down to the nail. And it allowed me to see if I could actually control it. And then I would do the same thing, repeat it over and over again. Dip my brush into the monomer, and this time I'm gonna tap it twice, or this time I'm gonna tap it for 3 seconds, and continuously do that until I became consistent with the beads. Don't get me wrong, the acrylic practice sheet for the beads does have its benefits and it is important, but it isn't the only way to practice being consistent with your beads. I think when we're learning acrylic application, a lot of nail techs get stuck on being consistent with the size of the bead, because that's what a lot of people say, that we need to learn how to be consistent with the bead size, because if we need a small one, we should be able to just pick one up, no problem. But I think it's more accurate to say that we should be consistent with the movement of the bead, not necessarily the size of the bead, because I could pick up a small bead all day long, but it's dry and has no movement and doesn't do anything for me. So again, I think it's more accurate when we think of it as a bead that's consistent with movement instead of size. I hope that makes sense because that's how I thought of it, and that's what has worked for me, being able to think of it more as I should be able to pick up a small bead and a large bead, and they're gonna move down the nail at the same rate and I can control it, rather than, okay, I picked up 10 small beads and they're all dry. Finally, the acrylic application is over and we can get into shaping. To shape the nails, I am using the Tammy Taylor peel and sticks. You can buy these off of Amazon, and I swear by these. These are so good and have helped my shaping so much. The reason I like these is because they're sturdy. You know what I mean? They have a backbone. So when I go to put pressure on it to get a crisp edge, I know that I'm gonna get the shape that I want, rather than with the plastic ones, not the plastic ones, the cheap ones off of Amazon. If I put too much pressure on it, I found that my edges would just come out too rounded. So yeah, I love these. I use them all the time. It's literally the only thing that I use. But I'll leave the link down in the description below so you guys can check it out. So for the nail art tutorial, I'm gonna explain what I'm doing and exactly how I'm doing it, and then we can talk about why I chose this particular design. The first thing I do before applying any rhinestone glue is deciding where I want my rhinestones to go and literally laying them out on the table before me. So that way I don't make any mistakes. If I'm working on a client, I know exactly where they're gonna go and I'm not wasting any time. Once I did that, then I can go in and apply my rhinestone glue. What I'm using here is the rhinestone glue by Macart. It comes in this little tiny tube with a small applicator already on it, so I do love that. And then the rhinestones I got off of Shein. They were pretty cheap at the time. I think they were $9, but if I find the link to the rhinestones that I'm using, I'll put those in the description as well. After I glued down my rhinestones, that's when I went in with the glitter portion of the design. So how you use the glitter is you want to use either gel polish or a gel paint. For me, I used gel paint because I just like how the glitter comes out a little bit more crisp for the line. But I went in with black gel paint and I make one line straight down, or whatever design you're gonna do. Then you're gonna throw the glitter right on top of that wet polish or wet gel paint. You don't want to cure it because otherwise the glitter won't stick. Once you throw the glitter on top of it, sort of tap your finger to remove any loose glitter that might be on your finger, and then stick your finger right in the lamp. You want to give it a full cure. Once the nail comes out of the lamp, that's when you can take a brush and gently brush away all of the glitter that's left on the nail that hasn't stuck to the gel paint. And you'll see what I mean in a second. Of course, the only downside to using glitter is that it gets everywhere, and that's the only annoying part, but it does give a beautiful effect to the nail. I really wanted to do something like this because I haven't done a design using glitter in a really long time, and it's something that I used to do a lot. Other than trying to figure out where you want the rhinestones to be placed, it's a simple, easy, definitely beginner nail tech friendly design. So I'll just let you guys watch and enjoy the rest of the nail art. One last thing that I do want to mention before we get to the end of the video is that I did go back off camera and seal in the edges of the rhinestones with matte top coat. You just want to be careful not to get any of the top coat on the glitter, because then you'll ruin the shininess of the glitter. That's it for this video, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you really enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe so that way you don't miss out on any future nail art tutorials, and I'll see you next time.